We have Darla Daywald, Frank Pratt, TJ Shope, Irene Littleton, Trey Terry, and Harold Van Gilder. So this one, they may not get as many questions just due to the 40-minute time frame. Still 2 minutes apiece, 1 minute at the end to tell us why you're the best candidate, and we're gonna get going. So with that, first question right out of the gate, not an easy one. So I look forward to your answers. It says copper and copper mining is one of Arizona's 4 C's. Recent years have brought forward new copper recovery techniques, reducing ecological impacts. Many citizens of Florence are concerned about a proposed copper mine within their city limits. What should the state of Arizona's policy be towards such mines? We'll start with you, Darla, and work our way around.
Thank you. Well, I believe that copper... Thank you. I believe that... is that on? There we go. Of course, I believe that copper mining is important to our resources in Arizona and within proper areas. And there's always going to be a question when you are mining, how it's going to affect that outlying community. So if there's going to be any issue with it affecting the water tables and that sort of thing, then obviously those things have to be looked at and more tests have to be run. But I totally believe in the ability for us to mine in areas where we are mining currently, like in Globe and so forth. I believe those are very important to our state. But I would have to look at more details to see how it would affect the area of Florence.
Thank you. Mr. Pratt.
Thank you. What we're referring to is Florence Copper's in situ project. It's not a new technology. The technology is used all the way around the world, but it is new to Arizona. It's basically you're pumping acid solution, a mild acid solution, about like vinegar, down into the ground, dissolving copper, and then overgrafting that area to bring up the copper solution and then using it in an electrolyting process. My position in this, because as chair of Energy and Natural Resources, Energy, Environment, and Natural Resources, I have to have the ability to make a decision should a bill become in front of us. I have maintained a neutral position. It's in the permitting process, and I believe that it should be based on sound scientific principles.
Mayor,
Mr. Shope.
Mayor, could you ask them to please be quiet at the back of the room?
Yeah, if we can have some more attention up here. All these candidates have spent some considerable time and dedication preparing for this, so we need to keep the volume down. If you want to carry on your conversation, if you take it out, that'd be great. Thank you. Mr. Shope.
Thank you. First off, thanks everybody for coming. I know it's been a little bit of a long morning already, and we've got another 40 minutes to go, but I thank you for your patience of listening to all of these candidates. Everybody has interesting information to share. As far as Florence Copper Project goes, about 3 weeks ago, met with Mayor Rankin and officials from the town of Florence, and I've had a pretty stated position on Florence Copper Project for the last couple years. And that is that I'm a local control person. I believe that the folks of the community have the right to determine their pathway. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going forward with the Florence Copper Project. I haven't said that is a awful project or it's a great project. I believe in the town of Florence. I believe in the town of Florence's ability to go ahead and make a decision on this, and I think that that's what they should be able to do. Granted, regulators are taking a look at this. As far as the legislative position, I don't know that it's even a legislative issue. I've spoken to lobbyists, I've spoken to members of the community on both sides of the issue and have said that this is nothing that you want the legislature getting involved in. This is something that you want regulators that are going to come in and tell you with science, yes, this is harmful to the environment, no, it's not harmful to the environment. More importantly, it's something for the local folks here in Florence to determine. Having said that, if we go into copper mining, those of you that know me, I'm a very strong supporter of copper mining in this state. My grandfather was a copper miner for 32 years in Arizona, in San Manuel and in Superior. Last year I was named the Freshman Legislator of the Year by the Arizona Mining Association. That being said, I think it's very important that when copper mining is discussed, that I look at this not an issue from my heart or anything like that. This is an issue that truly deserves local control to take that. So that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Littleton.
I want to also thank you all for coming. Informed voters are what we need. So when you leave here today, please go talk to your neighbors and friends about the candidates that you heard about today and what they were all about. I strongly believe in Resolution Copper. I think it's something that the state needs. Personally, I do not believe a copper mine belongs in Florence. That's my opinion. I've heard from different people. I've talked to Paul Gosar. I think in Superior, in Globe, and in San Manuel, these mines would benefit our state as a whole and our county. But I don't believe they belong in Florence. So we need to do something about Resolution Copper, and we need to move it forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Terry.
Again, thank you all for coming today. I know, like it's been said, it's been a long morning. When it comes to copper mine, like Representative Shope said, I believe in local control. Just as we don't want the federal government dictating policies to our state, we shouldn't have a state dictating policies to our city when it should be within the local control. That being said, I have taken a tour of the Florence Copper facility. I urge you, wherever you fall on this issue, take a tour, learn about the process. Like Irene said, become an informed voter. But when it comes to, like I said, keep it within the town of Florence. The town of Florence should be able to decide. Resolution Copper, when people think of copper mines, they think of towns like Miami, Globe, Superior, traditional copper towns. People don't think of Florence. So again, keep it local. I'm a big supporter of copper projects. I'm a big supporter of jobs, whether they be union, non-union, as long as that's in the private sector. But you're also talking about a copper mine in the copper state. Our state capital is covered with the copper dome. And parts of our county have over 10% unemployment. So I would keep that at the local level. It's whether or not it's a legislative issue, we're not 100% sure yet. I wouldn't want to get involved. But I would like to represent the area. Even though the title is senator, we are still a representative. So if the town of Florence doesn't want this mine, that is within their rights to discuss and determine.
Thank you. Mr. Van Gilder.
Hey, thank you for coming. My name is Cheryl Van Gilder. I would agree with everyone that's spoken that this has got to be ultimately a local control issue for the town of Florence. You see, there's a general rule that government cannot tell you no if you have a legitimate business, but they do have the right to set standards and procedures. If the town of Florence believes that they have an environmental issue, and I think they probably do, they have other concerns, then certainly they're not saying no to business, they're saying no to things that harm this community. But you know what, I don't live in Florence. The good folks over here, they're smart enough to handle that situation. I would leave it in the town of Florence because they're not saying no to business, they're saying we got some real concerns and we need them resolved and addressed. So I would leave it in the town of Florence.
And we're going to come back around this way. The question is, what economic actions will you support or introduce in order to stimulate job creation inside Pinal County?
Okay, Pinal County is a really diverse area. A lot of people don't know it. We have 80,000 plus dairy cows here in Pinal County, and agribusiness is $1 billion a year activity with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs. I am a no tax guy. I believe that we ought to take the state income tax to zero. The states that do that, like my wife's home state of Texas, even though I'm from Oklahoma, there's really no such place as Texas. It's Baja, Oklahoma, where I come from. But anyway, they have no income tax, and guess what? They are wiping the floor with us. We need to imitate the people that are really doing well. But no income tax, I think, is a key economic driver. I believe I'm probably also the only candidate up here that's actually been the president of an industrial development authority for a city. I was also the founding president of the Sierra Vista Economic Development Foundation, who from in the late 80s to now has produced between 5,000 and 10,000 jobs in the Sierra Vista Fort Huachuca area. I have a little bit of knowledge about what you need to do to have government set up that environment to have jobs come to this area. We are trust me, the garden spot of Arizona, but nobody knows it. And so my job would be to let everybody know about that, to have those people come here, want to come here because of CAC, because of the great cities that are here, Casa Grande, Florence, Eloy, Coolidge, Maricopa, other places, even up to Globe in the next county, which is part of our district. But LD8 is a great place, Pinal County is a great place, and I would work to bring people here.
Thank you, Mr. Van Gilder. Mr. Terry.
Thank you. When it comes to creating businesses, creating jobs, like it was said in the previous panel by Representative Smith, we cannot rely on government to create jobs. Government does not create jobs, it just reallocates them. Things that I would do, there are two things specifically that I would look at possibly running a bill right away. Business personal property tax, and I would look about possibly getting rid of the corporate income tax when it comes to this state. We need to foster that environment to create jobs, make the business climate friendly so those jobs aren't going to Texas from California, they are stopping here. This is much better state. I love Arizona more than any other state in the country. I'm sure you feel the same. There's no reason why they should be traveling 1,000 miles when they can just come 200 or 300 miles over here and come to this state, create jobs, not only Maricopa County, Pinal County, and in LD8.
Thank you. Ms. Littleton.
Well, I think one of the ways that we create opportunities in Pinal County, LD8, and Arizona is we have to improve our education system. It's sorely need improvement. For LD8, we need to go with copper resolution. We need to take advantage of everything that we already have in terms of natural resources, and we need to educate our people. We in the government cannot make jobs, but we can open the door for companies to come in and make jobs. I too believe that we should not have a state income tax. However, this is going to be a long time in planning. Texas and Florida have not had state taxes for many, many years. They've learned to live without it. We need to find a way to do that too. But it's going to mean that a lot of services may be lessened or even taken away. So we need to work with the people of the state of Arizona. We need to work with the governor. We need to work with the whole Senate and legislature and work out a situation where we no longer have a state income tax. And while doing that, we need to very much improve our education system in the state of Arizona.
Thank you. Mr. Shope.
Thank you. I just get to see a lot of pro-commerce, pro-jobs bills, and as the vice chair of the House Committee on Commerce, there's no shortage of ideas, I feel like, that are out there. I heard IDAs mentioned, for example. There's going to be a major bill on allowing IDAs to be a little bit more flexible. And I truly believe, for example, that we heard the jobs packages that were passed, both Jobs 1 and Jobs 2 earlier, and I know Representative Pratt and Representative Smith here were all in support of that. But I truly do believe that the IDA pieces that are going to be coming down may actually even go further and above and beyond what we were able to do with jobs packages of the previous few years. So I look forward to working on that. The business personal property tax, we tried to put that on the ballot a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, even though there was no opposition, no organized opposition, as far as a voter group or anything like that, it was defeated. It's a little bit of a confusing issue. We've heard it already. It takes an informed voter to make good decisions. So we have to do a better job, because I just recently signed on to co-sponsor a bill on removing that tax that Representative J.D. Mesnard, the Speaker Pro Tem of the House, is running this year. So there are some good things that are coming, those two specifically. And currently, as my status as Vice Chair of the House Commerce Committee, I get to see those come across my desk every week, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. So I look forward to trying to make sure that we set up Arizona and therefore Pinal County up for success economically going forward.
Thank you. Mr. Pratt.
Thank you. I was in the legislature and was a prime worker on the Arizona competitive business package. So we passed that, making Arizona much more competitive. I applaud the Arizona Commerce Authority helping us bring things like the new dairy facilities into the Casa Grande area. I just recently was at the groundbreaking for the Phoenix Mart. If that thing takes off like it has the potential to, that will be a significant employer to the Casa Grande area. I worked with UP and the State Land Department on the Red Rock facility, sponsored legislation for the cloud data storage, bringing that into Arizona. We need a business-friendly climate. Bringing business here is important. Also, keeping business here is important. This morning, Intel announced that they were going to eliminate, I believe, 5,000 jobs. I don't know how many, what that impact is going to be in the state of Arizona, but we need to work with them and make sure that that is minimized. I'm also working with a small manufacturing plant in Eloy. Believe it or not, we have a manufacturing plant there that cannot sell their product in Arizona for less than out-of-state producers can bring the product into the state of Arizona simply because of our tax structure. So TJ and I will be working on a tax resolution on that. And then finally, DJ and I are both members of the Arizona Border Legislative Conference, and we need to work with our #1 trading partner, which is Mexico. TJ went down in November. I'll be going down in February because we'll be working on energy issues there. So those are some of the things that we've been working on personally.
Thank you. Ms. Daywall.
Yes. Well, first of all, as a previous business owner, I can tell you that the tax code is difficult to work with, and I've seen numerous small businesses start up in Pinal County and Casa Grande, where I live, in the last 8 years, and I've seen them hang up their sign, and within a year they're closed, and another business goes in and they hang up their sign, and in a year they're closed. What are we doing to help the small businesses, who I believe are the backbone of this country, to be able to stay, to be profitable, to encourage growth within their organization and to provide more jobs? You know, of course I want to see more industry come in. I would love to see bigger plants come in and that sort of thing. And I think that Pinal County is sort of like a best kept secret. We have a lot of land, a lot of opportunity for big business to come in, but I think we also have to have an environment where we're able to assist the small business and to help them to become profitable. A lot of people decide, because we are the American dream, that, you know, anyone can start a business. They don't always have all of the knowledge they need to be successful, and I think that we need to do a better job within our state, within our counties, and within our cities of providing a better educational platform for them and support. If nothing else, support, because I can tell you when the economy went down the tubes in 2008 and we were faced with the mortgage crash, I had a choice. I can either keep my business and go under, or I can close and walk away. And I decided to close and walk away because that's what people do. They close or they cut, but they don't keep buying more and building more when things are difficult. So we have to learn how to help them to be successful.
Thank you. Ms. Daywall, the question is back to you again. This next question says, what can you do to repeal or sunset much of the regulation and waste that discourages business activity in the state of Arizona?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yes, what can you do to repeal or sunset much of the regulation and waste that discourages business activity in the state of Arizona?
Well, again, we need to go back and look at all of the different things that are becoming an obstacle for people to be successful in business. And one of the ways we do that is we need to talk to people. We need to talk to our constituents. We need to get out there and know what the issues are that people are facing. Agriculture is going to be facing different types of issues than retail. And for example, in Pinal County, I know we have a lot of retail that's grown and continues to build within that area. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that as new businesses come in. And I know I heard Red Lobster's coming in, and we've got the Sam's coming in. And that's the same story that's going on out throughout the county. But we have to take a look at what is actually affecting each type of business that's out there, what their obstacles are, and then go through and develop or with their help, find ways to cut whatever issues that they're dealing with. Look, I'm a small government person, so I'm a constitutional conservative. So my goal is always to look at how we can cut costs and help people without it breaking the bank. And you know, I learned when I was in 5 and 6 years old that if you set up a lemonade stand and if you sell your lemonade and you get 5 cents a cup, but if it's costing me 7 or 10 cents to put that out there, then I know I can't keep my lemonade stand going. And those are just simple, practical things that we have to look at in keeping people profitable, helping our community to grow in our county and our state, because that's what's really important.
Thank you. Mr. Pratt.
I have a bill actually this year that's going to repeal the stage 2 emissions on the gasoline stations. That's one of the type of bills that I run as a chairman of the Environment Committee. That will save about $50,000 to someone putting in a new station and eliminate the maintenance and the cost of removing it when the EPA will change their regulations in 2015. So that's what we can do in a small area. In a large area, I've testified a number of times at EPA hearings regarding the Navajo generating station. I have come out in support of the TWIG, or the Technical Working Group solution to Navajo generating station that will bring water and basically to industry, cities, and to agriculture in central Arizona. Those things, while we don't have a direct impact in the Arizona legislature, we have to stand up and take a position against the EPA or the federal government when they ignore the Arizona SIP for that they're constitutionally required to acknowledge and to implement. They did not. They came up with their own proposal. We countered with the TWIG proposal. So those are the kind of things that we work on a continual basis.
Each year at the legislature, we have what are called sunset review audits for committee or for agencies, things like that. Agencies that have, believe it or not, extremely high importance, and the tentacles of these agencies often reach directly into your pocketbook if you're a business owner or anything like that. One of the things that we do at these agency reviews is we look at the audit as performed by the audit committees and the auditors that come in. And we pick apart and we see, are there things that are too onerous? Are there things that maybe are bad for business? Because we don't want to have that in Arizona. Forbes magazine recently called Arizona the #1 place to have a startup in this country. And we want to keep that kind of reputation because we do want to show that Arizona is open for business. And one of the things that I think is that we have these agency reviews. But there's so much regulation that's in statute right now. There's so many things that are out there that have been passed and legislators passed over the 100 years that we've been a state. Instead of a sunset review for an agency, I'd like to see some sunset reviews for certain amounts of regulations and laws in this state. And I think that that is a direction that we really ought to be looking at going. If we can do something like that, and why stop there? Sunset reviews for some of the ballot initiatives that have been passed over the last several years as well. And there are so many things that we need to look at as far as reviewing regulation and things that are harmful to a business state and a business climate in Arizona that we need to keep an eye on those things and make sure that we truly are open for business.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Ms. Littleton.
Well, I understand, first of all, that Phoenix had 836 small businesses started between June and December of last year. How many of those businesses are still in business? I couldn't tell you. The regulations, the taxes, they're overwhelming to small businesses. One of the things I think we need is some education for new business owners to try to help them start a business, and what they need to know and how much money they really need in order to start the business. In terms of the EPA regulations, I'd be willing to work with EPA to try to change some of these, and we also need to go in and figure out what is stopping these people. What is it? Why aren't they succeeding? Is it our regulations, or is it very bad economy? Can we help these people? Maybe they're not selling the correct items, maybe they need to add things. This is all part of education, and I think every new small business owner should have the ability to attend some sort of class that helps them do that. Regulations, we need to take a look at. Taxes, we need to take a look at them. We need to give them some relief. We are going to be a very, very successful state. If we can get the economy turned around, there are a lot of people that would love to come to Phoenix, to Arizona, even to Casa Grande, and open a new business. Let's help them do that. Let's keep them going. Let's watch them and be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Terry.
Thank you. It's been mentioned before, when it comes to regulations, find me a regulation that doesn't make sense, I will try to repeal it. Actually, a goal of mine in the legislature would be to repeal as many laws as I create. I believe our government is already too large. And I mentioned it earlier, Representative Shope mentioned it, the business personal property tax. That is one specific instance where I would move to repeal that tax when it comes to providing a friendlier climate to businesses in our state. This tax, the income we receive for it, is approximately equal to the amount we pay to collect it. So it doesn't make sense. The only thing this tax is doing is hindering our businesses. It's costing them money. It's costing Arizona jobs. That is unacceptable. So I would look at repealing that one. Like TJ said, it takes an informed voter. Know what these regulations are. Know what these taxes are, so we can create an environment that makes more sense.
Thank you. Mr. Van Gilder.
Yes, I want to second what TJ said about sunsetting these laws. You know, I think that every law probably should be sunsetted with the exception of the criminal law. Civil law has to do with regulation of your life and your businesses and whatever. I think it'd be a good idea to say that, you know, if we pass a regulation about a business issue, that it's got a 5-year or 10-year sunset so that it's reviewed all the time. You know, and also the informed voter. I mean, you need to come and tell us, and tell all of your representatives, you know, why in the world did you do that in the last session? You know, one of the things I enjoyed about being a city councilman, you know, we met on a Thursday, is that every Friday I got to explain what we did last night at the Safeway store and at church and whatever. But you know what? If you're in the legislature, you almost never hear from a constituent. Very, very infrequently. And so I would urge you to stay on our case when we're elected and up there representing you. The regulations are the bane of existence. I saw a story on Fox, you know, 50 years ago, if you wanted to start a cab company, you bought you a car and put a sign on the top that said cab. You went out and got a fare. Now, you know, you need 2 Philadelphia lawyers to just weave you through the process to get a permit to have a cab. Well, you know, how did we get there? It took us a long time to get there. It may take us a long time to get back there, but we have to get to a point where your life is as least impeded as it possibly can be. You're not going to get away from government. George Washington even liked government. But we need to have that government be responsive to you.
Of smaller government. Please provide specific plans for reducing the size of state government.
Very good. Thank you for that question. Okay, you're going to have government. Get ready for it. Government, by its very nature, is a self-licking ice cream company. You need to understand that and make sure that you limit the amount of milk we get. One of the things that you can do to reduce the size of government is find something that the private sector can do better than the government can do, and that's probably almost anything. Okay? A big bow wave is coming toward you, and I'm part of that bow wave that's going to come and hit you in the face. I'm a retired federal and state employee with a defined benefit retirement plan. When I retired out of the state in 2001, my plan was 149% funded. Now it's 71%. Our future is Detroit's present. You know, we have got to find a way to restructure public compensation. Now, I know that's not very popular with some, while protecting the people that serve us. It's a good thing to be a cop. It's a good thing to be a legislator. It's a good thing to be a teacher and a fireman. It's a good thing to be a city and a county worker. And so anyway, that are some of the things we can do.
Thank you. Mr. Terry.
I think we can redefine every question as what is Harold's website. all in good fun. Again, when it comes to the question again, I'm sorry.
My question is, every Republican believes in smaller government. Please provide specific plans for reducing the size of state government.
Yes, as a Republican, our goal, stated in the Constitution, is to defend life, liberty, and property. We should be protecting small business property. We should be protecting farmers' property that comes to the water extinguishment credits. I mentioned earlier, repealing taxes when it comes to business personal property tax, when it comes to repealing the corporate income tax. A regulation, any regulation that doesn't make sense. I go around to our business community, chamber events, businesses, whether in Casa Grande, here in Santan, Coolidge, Florence. Any regulation that doesn't make sense, I am open and willing to take a look at it, and if possible, I will repeal it. Anything that can be done by the private sector, I would prefer it to stay in the private sector. Our government has dictating that. And one last thing I would say, when it comes, I love the saying, the only thing saving us from the bureaucracy is the bureaucracy itself. We need to look at overhead charges, charges that we're making. When it comes to CPS, when it comes to education, where are our dollars going? Where are places we can cut? Does it make sense to spend this dollar where it's going? Do we even know where it's going? There are a lot of cuts that can be made in the administrative and the bureaucracy levels that can cause our government to shrink and become more effective at the same time.
Thank you. Ms. Littleton.
Well, everybody up here is a Republican, and we believe, I think we all believe, in smaller government, less intrusion. So how do we do that? First of all, we need to take a look at all the agencies we have. Do we really need them? Then do we look at our schools? Look at our community colleges? You know, how many administrators do we have per student in schools? Cutting back on that. If we talked about Casa Grande specifically, 2 blocks from each other, are bus depots, one for the elementary school, one for the high school. They don't run on the street at the same time, so why aren't we using them for both schools? There are so many ways, but I feel that our government, all the way to Washington, the only way we can make changes is by starting at the bottom, the grassroots. Your cities, your towns, you start making small government in those areas and it goes up to the state. But we need a good review of every agency we have and what it's there for. How many duplicates are there in DC of agencies? There are duplicates in the state. We're going to have to take as somebody else said, we're going to have to take a fine-tooth comb to every agency that we have in Arizona and decide, do we really need this? Or do we have another agency that does it even better? So start at the grassroots, work up to the State House, and then on to Washington. It's the only way we're going to resolve our problems on the whole.
Thank you. Mr. Shope.
Thank you. I'm happy. I don't know who brought the maps in the back, but Senator Melvin, thank you very much, sir. This summer I had an opportunity to go to Salt Lake City. Had a chance to meet Ken Ivory. If you're not sure who Ken Ivory is, a legislator from Utah, American Lands Council, signs that are back there right now. You don't believe government is a problem, you don't believe government is too big, take a look at the map and see what resources we're not able to tap into in the western United States. We could power the entire country, we could be an exporter of energy to the greater extent that we are now. if we were able to have access. That's probably one of the single biggest reasons that I find myself fighting for return of lands to Arizona. And in our own district, in our own county, over 20% of our land is held by the state government. Doug Wolf and I have a conversation about this, I feel like every single time. I know UP Switching Yard was mentioned earlier. But the state land department, we've been working with them on a few of those things. UP obviously gets a lot of the press with the switching yard, but there are some other issues that are heavily going to play into future economic development for this region, for this county. You know, whether it's UP, whether it's expansion at places like Coolidge Municipal Airport or other areas, we need to make sure that we are able to take control of our lands here and make sure that we can plan for economic development in the future. Because people are coming. Rooftops continue to come, even in a down economy, but where are the jobs? We need to make sure we set the table here. We need to make sure we set the table for economic growth, and transportation is going to play such a huge role, whether it's I-11, UP, or airport issues going forward. So that picture of lands back there, make sure you take a look at it before you walk out.
Thank you. Mr. Pratt?
Wow. How do we reduce the size of government? I was in the legislature when we probably reduced the size of government more percentage-wise than it ever has been reduced. And I can tell you, it was a bumpy ride. Whenever you start trying to reduce anything like that, you're going to have problems. The question is how much government and how much safety and protection do we want, and what are we willing to pay? What we did in our turbulent times in the last few years, we made a lot of public-private partnerships in the sense that we allowed ADEQ and Air Department of Water Resources, agencies like that, to give more responsibility to private businesses and do it with the oversight of the agency, but reduce the actual liability or the amount of personnel that was required to give permits or do anything else. We made a lot of agencies self-funding. I remember one day when I stood there on the floor and I watched Andy Biggs, who's now the president of the Senate, say, "I never thought I would be able to stand up in front of this legislature and vote to actually eliminate an agency in the state of Arizona," but we did it. We've done it. Like I said, self-funding, public-private partnerships, working with federal and state agencies, working with individuals, all of those things have worked. And I would say when you start talking about duplication, all other agencies other than education, public safety, and healthcare only comprise about 7% of the entire state general fund budget. So that's something to consider.
Thank you. Ms. Daywald?
Yes. You know, I have over 30 years of working in upper management, and I worked in healthcare for a lot of years as a healthcare administrator, and I walked into many businesses where when I took the job, they said, we don't have a lot of waste in our organization. And one of my goals is always to go through an organization to find out where the waste are and how to make it more profitable and how to put more money toward the employees and the people that make a business successful. And every business I've ever gone into that told me they didn't think they had a waste, I was always able to find an enormous amount of waste within that organization and able to go through, as Irene says, with a fine-tooth comb, line item by line item, just same thing we do in our homes. When times get tough, what do? You start cutting. You don't add more agencies. You don't add Medicaid expansion bills. You don't add more and more to our government deficit. You don't add more oversight. You go in and you cut and you cut and you cut, and you have to have a backbone to do such a thing. I look at our federal government and I get frustrated every day with John Boehner, who comes out and pounds his chest and talks about how big and bad they're going to be and how they're going to cut costs and go through and cut waste and excess, and then he comes out and when he gets a few bad reviews or a few people that contact him through his office, and he comes back and he cries the blues and he caves and he doesn't do what we put him in there to do. Well, I'm telling you something right now. I think that number one, we need to repeal the Medicaid expansion and we need to review that. I have a background in healthcare and I can tell you that the system is bad for Arizona. It's adding couple billion dollars to our budget, and also another thing that's bad is the illegals in this country. The amount of people that we are allowing to come into our state every single month is costing Arizona taxpayers an enormous amount of money. We need to realize that we cannot be a welfare state. We can't be a nanny state. It's not our job to give people a bottle and take care of them until they're 50 or 100 years old. We have to teach people how to be self-sufficient, and that's a big problem in this country. So, and abolish the income tax.
Thank you, Ms. Daywell. Well, we've almost run our course in this debate here today, so at this time we're going to now move to our 1-minute closing. We'll start with you, Ms. Daywell, and go all the way over to Mr. Van Gilder. And so again, you have 1 minute to explain to us why you're the best candidate for this job.
I'm not a career politician. I'm not even a politician. I'm an activist. I've been an activist for the last 5 years, and prior to that I've been in business, either for myself and or for other organizations. I've spent my entire career helping people, helping businesses, and helping employees to be successful. I've spent a lot of time in my last 5 years doing everything I can to encourage and educate citizens to take action and to be strong, civic-minded people. It takes all of us. It doesn't take a regulator, or it doesn't take a representative or any other politician to do all the work. It takes all of us to do it. It can't be just me. It can't be just these fellows. It has to be all of us working together. I am all about small business. I'm pro-Second Amendment. I'm conservative to the core. I'm pro-life. I'm one man, one woman marriage. I'm Christian conservative. I think there's a major assault on our Christian religious liberties right now, and I don't like that either, and I'm going to fight against that just like I have for the last years, working through Patriot Action Network, which is a national organization that I run, over 92,000 members on our organization. I have been involved in trying my best day in and day out to take this country back to what it was founded on, and those same principles that our founders put into play back when they founded us over 240 some years ago are still valid today, and they're still valid in our state. And I believe in standing on our Constitution and on conservative principles.
Thank you, Ms. Daywell. Mr. Pratt.
Thank you very much for being here today. In closing, we'll continue to work on jobs. We've touched on that, but we also have a lot of other issues. We have water issues in the state. We're working on the extinguishment credits to try to address the issues that people have there. We also have water augmentation issues, and we also have a possibility of restrictions because the elevation of the water at Lake Mead is a little bit lower than we would like to see it. If we don't get some rain or some snow in our snowpack, it's going to be problematic. Energy needs to be reliable and affordable, and we need to work to make sure that we continue to keep it that way. Education, we've got to keep going with the reforms that we've started in the K-12 system and continue to work in higher ed. We need to work with our trading partners, and I still believe that at some point in time we sincerely need bricks and mortar institution where we can just give out 4-year degrees to residents of Pinal County. We're the largest county in the state without a 4-year institution.
Thank you. Mr. Shope.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today. We're almost done. So that's, everybody gets a medal for staying all day long and helping us out. But the true medal comes whenever you go out, because I know every single person in here are the folks that go out and pound doors, pound signs, and make sure that they talk to their neighbors as they go from door to door in their neighborhoods. There are a few things that have been going on and we're going to continue to work on. We talked a lot about commerce issues, jobs in the economy. That's always going to be issue number one for me. I come from a small business family, and those things are very important to me to make sure that businesses coming in, whether they're startups or large corporations like Apple establishing in this literally only a half hour away from here, or have a good spot to You know, it's folks like Alan Pace is out here today that really make this job a very fun thing to do. We get to work together with the American Legion on a regular basis with Alan out in the Santan Valley area. Guys like Larry Putrick, who's here. Every time we get together, we spend about an hour or so talking about the future of economic development in the town of Florence and this whole region. Those are the things that I enjoy doing. Those are the things that I'm going to continue to do. I look forward to representing you for another 2 years.
Ms. Littleton.
I'm going to agree with Darla. This will be the first time I've ever run for office, and most of the people who know me have heard me for how many years saying, I'm never going to run for office. And I finally decided that we did need a change in LD8. We need some fresh, non-political folks in the positions. I am pro-life, I am pro-family, I am a Tea Party person, and I'm proud of it. But first, I am a conservative, constitutional Republican, and that's the way I will always be. I have worked with organizations like Americans for Prosperity, the Goldwater Institute, and the Arizona Conservative Coalition. So I know what all of those people stand for, and I know that that's what's going to bring Arizona back to where it belongs. We can no longer take on laws like Common Core, Medicaid expansion. We need to develop our own methods for education and for medical assistance to all of the citizens of Arizona. We don't need the federal government coming in and telling us how to teach our children and how to medicate our citizens and what we should do. And that's where I stand. And I'm asking for your vote. Thank you so much for coming. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you. Mr. Terry.
Jobs, jobs, jobs. It's a common theme. We must make Arizona's business climate much more conducive to growth. So my name is Trey Terry. I'm a 5-year Army combat veteran. I have been, for my entire adult life, either fighting for my country, either overseas, or fighting for conservative candidates to get elected in this area. I am running because it's about time my generation responsibility for its future. We must leave our country better for our kids than the way we've got it.
Thank you for hanging in there. I'm best qualified because I can count to 15. See me later and I'll tell you why that's important. But let's not forget why we're here today discussing all of these problems. In 2012, Barack Obama was swept into office because 2.6 million Republicans concerned about who was at the top of the ticket stayed home and did not vote. That's why he's here. We have to do better than that. Like Larry the cable guy says, we got to get her done, we got to work together. Folks, we wouldn't be discussing these problems if we had gone to the polls and kept Barack Obama home. Okay? I want to be one of those people that helps reverse what has been done, and I want to encourage Republicans to come together. Like Mike Huckabee said the other day, you want to help this process? There's one word you can get out of your vocabulary to help in 2014 and 2016. If you use the word rhino, scrap it. Scrap it. And work for Republican causes and Republican candidates. Again, my name is Harold Van Gilder. I want your vote.
Thank you. Let's give all these candidates a big round of applause. Thank you very much for sticking around. Remember, we have a 50-50